In the brain, you can maybe process 10,000 bits per second. If you go into the quantum field, into where your soul really is, it's billions and billions and billions and billions of bits a second. It's not even a comparison. So people think, wow, with the brain, we're so capable. Sure, we're capable. I mean, the brain is amazing to have. You can figure out amazing things. But if you tap into your knowing, I mean, it's endless supply of information you have there at your access all the time. It's just people have forgotten that. So, and that's where we need to go. If we can access that, then everything is there. There's nothing we need really, and everything will just happen.
They say that one of the actual downfalls of Western civilization was this Socrates statement of, I think, therefore I am. And that's not true.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and what you said about ration actually being on the neutral to lower side of consciousness, whereas what we were raised with was ration. It was one of the Greek virtues, you know, to be rational. I remember my dad is an MIT scientist. Being rational and logical were the best things you could ever be. And if you can't with their version of research, then it's simply untrue. Yeah. But that keeps you in the cage.
Yeah.
You know, waiting until someone else proves it. First of all, who's funding these studies? What is their agenda behind it? You know? And I feel a lot of us intuitively feel this, and we know that energy is real. It's just when we are confronted by critics who are saying, well, prove it in these ways, it's hard to make a comeback, you know? So what do you share? And I want to get into Leela Quantum Technologies, which we have the infinity box right here. And this is a technology you have done so much research that you guys aren't even a part of. So what does that research look like to measure energy and frequency?
Yeah, so you can calibrate fields on the Hawkins scale, the actual consciousness level, and the technology we developed, this is like one part of it. It vibrates higher than any other product on Earth currently. That is publicly available. I must say that because possibly there is something out there hidden that we don't know about. Now, what does that mean? And what other measurements can you take? Because there's not a quantumometer right now, so you couldn't really determine with a scientific instrument the strength of quantum energy in the block, for example. You couldn't, because science is playing catch up. And it's actually also normal, because in a way it's ancient technology, but it's completely newly developed. Like, so this is not, I mean, it's a similar understanding that Tesla worked with, frankly, but it's not Tesla technology. And it's also nothing we got through just a vision.
And you're referring to Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla. Not the company. Tesla.
Yes.
Two very different things.
Yes, the OG.
Thank you for making that clear. Yeah. And what you can measure is you can look at biological systems and what is the impact of it, for example, right? So you can measure your blood, for example, or your heart rate variability, or, I mean, a lot of different things, your energy production of your human cells, for example. There's lots of different methods. And then what happens if you introduce Wi-Fi, for example? What happens, to your blood? Does it clot? Yes, with Wi-Fi. Do your white blood cells start to be paralyzed through Wi-Fi? Yes. That's things you see very, very quickly. And that's not random. It actually just happens over and over again. A lot of different things happen. Now, when you introduce this technology, you see the opposite effect of that. You see a complete balancing effect of physiological systems. So you can see, and we can claim that now because it's been studied over and over again by multiple institutes, that you can reverse stage 1 and stage 2 of blood clotting within 10 minutes, as an example. And that is quite powerful. And that's, it's just energy. Yeah, I mean, we're just energy. So remember, people, that's what we are at core. And then it makes sense that if you're introducing the most fundamental layer of energy, basically source energy, and you can tap into that, it's like you walking through the desert without any water for hours, and then you're almost dead, and then there's someone offering you a bottle of water and you drink it. you're hydrating. And this feeling energetically is what happens to the body when you're tapping into such a powerful field. That's why your blood starts to reorganize in a positive way. That's why, it was shown by a university professor in 5 randomized double-blind studies that wound healing of actual human cells accelerates by 50 to 100% when you tap into that field. That ATP production, which is that's the currency of our body, so the energy that our cells produce, can increase by 20 to 29%. So it's all possible, and we don't even need to, have surgery for that, or swallow a million supplements. We can do all these things too. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't, but first let's take care of our biofield. It's something we've completely forgotten, to take care of our biofield. And those are some of the things you can do to measure these before and after effects. We went as far as actually having a clinical study with 42 autistic kids in India that we actually didn't do. It was a clinic in India that reached out to us because they heard about positive results with autistic kids that, were reported. And it was amazing. After 6 months, there were a couple kids off the spectrum. Now, that doesn't happen on average and didn't happen on average, but there was a 20 basis point reduction in the so-called ATIC score over 6 months. And so the ATIC score is how they measure where you are on the spectrum. And everything in regards to language skills, focus, attention span, and things like that improved significantly. And that's quite remarkable that you can just with energy bring the body and the energy system again into a state where it's acting as it's supposed to be acting. And then also you have neutralized these energetic stressors, because EMFs, for example, even an electric car, don't bother you a little bit when you are in this field.
How do you get in the field?
Yeah. So with this, for example, we're in the field right now.
Okay.
So you couldn't measure any negative effects of EMF on your body, on my body, on anyone else's body here in the proximity. So the study that the BESA Institute in Europe did, that's the largest independent testing and research institute in Europe for biofeedback and biosystems analysis. They went as far as getting the most powerful electric car on the market in Europe. I can't say the brand. And then had people drive it and test them before and then test them when they're driving it. And they did all these tests that I described earlier, having a passenger that's on the phone, you're on the phone while you're driving for an hour, you're charging the battery, all these different tests. And then as soon as you introduce this or something similar that we have, it's neutralized. And so what's happening on an energetic level, these destructive waveform patterns that hit you, the 5G, for example, or 4G, or the battery operating, right? That's something that is destructive to our energy system and therefore also to our bodies. It's harmonized in a way so that it's like if you hit me in the face, that's the analogy. Please don't do that and try it. But if you hit me in the face, it hurts. If you give me an acupressure on the neck, it's beneficial, right? And that is pretty much what's happening with these waveform patterns, because the quantum energy that can be worked with is pure, and it's the most fundamental layer of energy. So it's the umbrella, basically. All the frequencies that exist within the quantum field. And also the electromagnetic spectrum is a higher level because it's physical already. So that just gets transformed. So you still have the signals because you can use your phone still, it's no problem, but it's not harmful anymore. So in a way, that's what we've envisioned when we develop this, that we can live with technologies out there that have cool advantages. I mean, I used to work at T-Mobile. I used to be a VP at T-Mobile, and it's fun. You develop new stuff, new phones, and you think about how people can be more connected. That's what the vast majority of the people in that industry think about. It's not like a bunch of conspiracy guys that are trying to hurt humanity with new frequencies. No, they're thinking about great ways and how you can connect and what the next phone should have in terms of features. But there are negative impacts on our health, long-term, midterm, but also even short-term. And that's very, very clear. I mean, anyone that says that's not true, I'm happy to debate them and show them the over 1,000 independent studies that are peer-reviewed that show that. But to live with that and not have the negative impacts. And I think that is the time right now also, because we can have it all and we don't need to be impacted in a negative way.